And now, Sir Thomas Winsor, if you want to give us a little background on who you are and some of
Yeah,
the work that you do.
thanks, and hello to everyone. I'm I'm Her Majesty's Chief Inspector of Fire and Rescue Services in England, and we inspect and report to the public on the efficiency and effectiveness of fire and rescue services in England. I'm also Her Majesty's Chief Inspector of Constabulary for England and Wales, so we also do the same job for the police forces in England and Wales, the 43 police forces in England and Wales. I'm a lawyer for the last 41 years, but my career has been interrupted by public service. The two I've just mentioned, I used to be the economic regulator for the railway industry 20 years ago. And we are concerned with the efficiency and effectiveness of these essential public services. We're an independent authority. We were given the jurisdiction in relation to fire and rescue in 2017. We were given the jurisdiction in relation to the police service in 1856. And the rationale was that because policing and fire have so many commonalities in response times, preparedness, and culture, that it made sense for the police service and the fire and rescue service to be inspected according to the same processes and broadly the same criteria. So that's what we do. We've got a staff of about 300, and we're assessing the efficiency and effectiveness of public services that are spending about 14 to 15 billion pounds a year. So we keep on telling our sponsor government department that we're very good value.
What is virtual reality training, and how is that something that will play a role into the future of first responder training, considering the restraints we have today and what the world will look like moving forward?
Endorse everything that's been said, of course. Our interest is, of course, ensuring that firefighters are trained in the most efficient and effective manner, and that they get the maximum benefit out of it. I first saw this, and Paul was kind enough to demonstrate it, and I was so keen to. My experience in Leicestershire when I was visiting and had that demonstration was that I asked Paul and Alex to come to London and to demonstrate it to quite a range of my headquarters staff, all of whom were enormously impressed. The benefits are, as have been said already, and the safety of the training is of enormous importance. The practicality in terms of space, in terms of the number of people you can get to, and of course in terms of the very low cost of this kind of training. I don't want to put Alex out of business, but this is really cheap compared to pretty much any other kind of training I've ever come across, where you're dealing with a practical situation. Putting on that headset and looking around was something that I had never experienced in this kind of context. And I'm not a gamer, so I wouldn't know. But the efficiency and effectiveness of this kind of training cannot be overstated. And it is also, of course, adaptable to any kind of first responder training. So the first time I saw it was a road safety example. But never, the road safety one was, it was a bunch of teenagers going along in a car, and you felt you were there. You were in the car. You just look around and you can look wherever you like. And then a farm vehicle comes from outside from a side road. The kids are larking about. They're going too fast. They're not paying proper attention. There's a collision, and then there's a sort of a few seconds of blackness, and then the reality of the situation is there. One of the kids has gone straight through the windscreen and he's dead, or he's almost, he's dead. Others are very severely injured, etc., etc. And it is the most extraordinary thing. And I know that Paul and others have taken this and shown it to a lot of what in America are called high school kids, secondary school children, just to, in 5 minutes, they get an idea of something that they could never have explained to them in any better way than that. So then I saw it in the context of firefighting, and I have to say, I knew it was virtual reality, but there was no way I was going to take a step out of an open window into the open space. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And none of my colleagues could bring themselves to do it. And, you're able to go and pick things up and turn them around and look at them and so on. The only thing you can't do is smell them, which is probably just as well, just in a firefighting situation. Yeah. So the recommendation I've made to Paul and Alex and colleagues in Leicestershire is that, and it may be Paul and Callum and Alex can tell me this, that you've got to show it to the ministers, the cabinet politicians who are going to be making decisions in relation to fire budgets and police budgets. And of course, there's also an application in terms of the health service. In other words, all first responders. It is an enormously impressive tool. Its adaptability and practicality are almost limitless. And if you show them to the principal decision makers in politics, because they're the people who give you the money, whether it's on a local basis, the local mayors, or whether it's on a national basis, and of course our system of government is very different from yours, that is the way to get your hands in their pockets.
But we also have very strict accountability for other specific aspects that have to be done in a very defined and measured way. And I'm not sure how that correlates on the British side.
Broadly, there's the certification, which is of enormous importance, but you don't need to be doing all of it certified in terms of just having the actual experience and getting the immersion that you have in the experience, because that's the thing that's it seems to me of greater value. Of course, there are authorizations that have to be passed, but everything I've seen would certainly pass every authorization of which I'm never aware. So it's a very great importance. I take your point about the mental health of the first responders, because the effect on those people, and I and Alex are probably the least qualified to speak about this, is undoubtedly very, very severe indeed. Just from my point of view, I endorse all that's been said, but the adaptability and the economy of this is enormous, and the ability to test incident commanders across a whole range of different scenarios is, of course, of enormous importance to see not only what are their decision-making processes are, but also their reaction times, and improve those reaction times. Everyone in the world knows about the Grenfell Tower fire, which London Fire Brigade were just not ready for, and indeed questionable whether anybody could have been ready for it. So the VR enables fire departments not only to train people for what they're likely to see, but also to train people for what they are not likely to encounter. If God forbid that there be any fire like Grenfell anywhere in the world again, but there will be, and the firefighters who are facing those conflagrations are better prepared they can possibly be, even though the probability of this thing happening is remote. The more lives that will be saved. So I can't say often enough just how strongly we at the inspectorate are behind the VR technology and its widespread dissemination into everything, not just fire, but all the first responders, the military, and anything else. I'll be very brief because we are short of time. So I endorse everything that's been said. I think the critical question for every fire department is, and this is the question we will be asking, I mentioned this earlier, why aren't you doing this? And the second thing is, you've got to show the politicians. Because once the politicians get that headset on and they have a look around, in 10 minutes time, you'll have won their hearts and their minds.